Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to The Perspective. I'm Ethan Micheal, and alongside me is my co-host for the evening.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that next time I give you a proper thumbnail with my current hair color on it, you can see I am no longer with blue hair. I did not want to disappoint your audience. I am now the pink and purple haired puck. There's a thumbnail on my Twitter if anybody wants the current one.
Awesome. Yeah, I definitely, that's good to know for future reference. We got to make sure the puck is up to date with your hair color. And right now, if you are watching, we do have open lines. Call the show, 951-ENGAGE, and let us know your supernatural claim or experience, belief in God, anything of that nature. Hey, even witchcraft. That's one of my favorite topics. Did you know that, Puck?
Yeah, I don't know that we want to go back there.
Well, I do have some good news for the people out there. So for those that don't know, I laid out a challenge for some witches to put a negative hex on me. Anyways, now I found another witch, and she has done her like positive. I don't know how to explain it. It's not my bag of tea. I don't believe any of it, but she has countered the dark magic. So hey, we'll see what happens. What do you think will happen, Puck?
I think what we need to do is come up with some more parameters to the experiment. There's far too many variables here. There's no way that you're accounting for exactly what the effects of the curse and then the remedy are. This is okay. If we're gonna have callers tonight, and this is good that they're listening to me right now, okay? Because the number one thing that irritates Puck is vagueness. Okay, we want nice, good, specific definitions. You want to talk about energy? Tell me what energy actually is. You want to talk about spirits? Tell me what spirits actually are. Before we get into your story about energy and spirits, we got to know what you're talking about. So if we're talking about curses and blessings and whatnot, I want some parameters. I want some way that we can identify exactly what's happening and why, and then we can start to evaluate the claims. I say bring it. You know, I'm not beyond thinking that a lot of these claims they actually have some merit to them. The problem is I've never seen any sort of demonstration under actual clinical situations where we can actually say, no, you know what? That was a blessing. We know that that blessing actually worked, and we know that that blessing is what caused this change. Let's actually put this to the test. So I am definitely looking forward to getting some callers who are not just willing to talk about their claims and examine them, but willing to continue in the future and test the claims that they have.
So can you give me an example of some of the parameters you would want?
Yeah, okay. So, for example, there was this one bloke that I knew a while back that claimed that he could, using, I don't know what the right way to call it is, but claimed that he could control the growth of plants. Okay, sure. Let's figure this out. Let's take a large number of the exact same plant, some of them which you manipulate and some of them which you do not manipulate. Trying to keep as many of these of the other variables the same as possible. They're watered the same at the same time every day. They're given the same amount of light. They're given the same amount of nutrients. The only thing that's happening is he's affecting some of them and not affecting some of them. I should be able to go back there and figure out with a good deal of precision exactly which ones he manipulated. Let's test it.
That's pretty specific, my friend. That might be difficult to do.
Well, if there's a specific cause, we should be able to find it. Like if I was, for example, to use some extra nutrients, like a fertilizer on some plants, I'm willing to bet that you'd be able to figure out which plants I used fertilizer on and which ones didn't. And if you can't, then that's a really lousy fertilizer. So yeah, it's very specific, but that's exactly what we want. We want to remove the vagueness. We want to remove the ambiguity. We want to get down to the meat. Yeah, I see what you did there. Thank you very much.
Related to the other thing that might evolve into that other conversation. That's kind of like it. You know, speaking of vagueness, I'll admit I have a tendency to do that. And I didn't even realize I did until Puck, what's the right word for it? Pucks me continually?
Yes, I did. I get down to the puck of the matter.
Yeah, he does not let up. It will be just question after question. And I'm like, oh, sorry. I'm like, dude, I'm sorry, I don't know. Why don't you know? Why haven't you figured this out yet? Why have you not thought this through? And I'm just like, oh
I
man,
don't know. Okay, let me clear this up. Okay, I don't know is a wonderful, legitimate answer.
right?
It's like what is causing this? I don't know. The next immediate follow up to that should be, but let's find out. Okay, I don't know what causes this. Let's find out. I don't know how this is explained. Let's find out.
Yeah.
Gets past the hard outer shell and straight to the gooey center. Yes. Unfortunately, a puck is solid rubber through and through. There is no gooey interior here. This is all tempered, vulcanized, hardened puck.
What?
You didn't see the comment. Kenneth there said that there's a gooey center. There is no gooey center here. No, this is pure like emotionless logic puck.
Okay, that's a fair point.
Kapla.
So if you want Puck to puck you, give us a call. I'm sorry. I love giving him a headache. Call the show 951-ENGAGE-0. We are here to talk to you about your experiences.
Why can't I ever be on any normal shows like all the other YouTube atheists?
Check this out. Starting next week, we have a special episode of The Perspective for you, and it's going to be including UFO and alien sightings. So Brainbug will be co-hosting with me, and he has some people that are going to call in and talk about their experiences. So I think that is going to be pretty cool.
Let's talk about UFOs for just a second.
Sure.
Let's talk about this. As I am to understand it, since we're waiting for callers, let's UFO stands for unidentified flying object, right?
Correct.
So okay, so just on the broadest possible definition, which I hate. If your neighbor throws a frisbee and you happen to just see it pass your window, but it was like really quick and you couldn't tell what that was that an unidentified flying object?
I mean, technically,
okay,
yes.
okay. So you got to help me out here, UFO proponents. Okay, because you're not not Pucky Normal. No, I'm really not. The proponents of UFOs, the biggest beef that I have with this is that there's not a lot of ways to re-examine the claim, and there's not a lot of predictability with it. And I get it, it's unidentified. It might have just happened on a whim. But then if you can't re-examine it, how are we drawing any conclusions from it? That's what I would be most curious about. It's like, it was unidentified. I don't know anything about it, but I do know this. No, that was the end of it, because I don't know what people know about UFOs. Help me understand here.
Yeah, well, that will be starting next week.
Good.
And I'm excited about that. So I can practice. For those that don't know, Puck has been on me abnormally hard today because I have not been using my friendly questioning approach in a Facebook post I made. So he's harped on me pretty good.
Yes, I have. And straight epistemology is a wonderful way at dissecting and figuring out why people believe what they believe and how much confidence they have in those beliefs. Right. And then, if you want to, start chipping away at that confidence. And then the one thing I love about street epistemology, and why I am a particularly big fan of the show Truth Wanted, is because it not only applies to religious claims, you can apply it to just about anything. You can apply it to political beliefs. You can apply it to social beliefs. You can apply it to a large number of things other than just theistic claims. It just theistic claims map very neatly onto the things that SE is good for.
Right. Well, I have assured Puck that I will continually practice my straight epistemology, but my own version of it.
Oh boy.
Which, yeah. Anyway, we need callers. I've not had this before.
We do. I'm not very good at vamping. They found out that I was here. It's like, nope, I can't deal with Puck.
This is the first time where we haven't had a single caller. We got a good amount of viewers across the different pages we're streaming to, but so
no, that's cool. It's Tuesday after Labor Day. People are done. They're recovering from their holidays and whatnot. I got so hurt by being rejected week after week. I decided to take over. Hey, you know, this is one of the things that I love about Truth Wanted. You're going to get a lot of different people on that show, right? Like if you look at other shows from the ACA, like the Atheist Experience, it's you know, they have the occasional guest, but usually it's the same revolving core of hosts, and that's cool in its own way. But what I especially like about Truth Wanted is you're going to get a lot of different perspectives week after week. Like last week, they had a specialist regarding multi-level marketing companies, and before that, it was a rather animated anarchist.
An animated anarchist?
Oh yeah, he made you look downright dull, Ethan, with how animated and flamboyant, and how big he was into using grand hand gestures. It was a scary thing. I marvel about what would happen if you and him were ever on the same show together. Nothing would ever get accomplished, but it would look interesting.
Wow. Do you really think I accomplished nothing?
Well, no, not nothing. I mean, you know, it's like if anybody ever wanted to if anybody ever watched your video, it looks like you're like performing for TikTok. You know, it's like you got the.
Dude, I can't help it that okay, now you got me like watching out for my mannerisms. I can't help it that I am an animated dude.
And this is actually really interesting that you point that out, because as much as you see me gesturing and using body language and facial expressions now, this is not me normally. I am actually having to consciously think about what can I do to physically express what is going on in here, because normally I would just be like this and I could have the entire conversation just like this.
Isn't that boring though?
No, because it actually means that my message goes through instead of my flailing. See, in Puckville, where I spend a considerable amount of my time, the content of the message has nothing to do with the delivery.
Okay.
Yeah. That would be a good thing to SE. You know what? Since we're waiting for a call, go ahead and SE that. Pick puck my brain. Puck. Go ahead.
I'm not as good at that as you are, dude.
You don't have to be good at it. Look, you're not good at this, and you have a whole show about it. Okay, so puck me.
I will say this. This is going to be like the at least most entertaining episode for me at this point.
And yeah, and look at this. I managed to be entertaining without once having smiled the entire time. So go ahead.
Wait, real quick, Puck. That's a really good question. If my hands were tied, could I still live stream?
Fantastic. Let's experiment with this. Let us go ahead and bind your hands and see if you're still capable of giving the entertainment presentation that you are. I mean, if you want to go one step up on this, let's see if you're capable of doing this if your camera is off and you know that nobody can see you.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Do that right now.
And while doing that, go ahead and puck regarding the effectiveness of body language in imparting information.
Okay, why is it that you don't think? See, I'm still moving my hands. Mm-hmm. Why is it?
That's it. You can move your hands all you want to. Nobody knows and nobody cares. So go ahead.
Okay, so why is it that you don't think the content of the message, or the content of the delivery is important? Like, for example, do you not see a difference between your delivery and my delivery?
I do see the difference. Oh, sorry. Okay. Finish your question. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I'm kind of stringing a lot together there, and I apologize. I guess, do you understand the importance in having different ways to deliver the message?
Yes, I do. And the reason that I don't like body language in particular is because the people like to think that they're good. Yeah, I love that. Somehow Ethan's audio improved. See, people can actually understand you better when they don't have to look at you. I'm kidding.
Wow.
Kidding.
Wow.
Shots fired. Okay. Anyway, back to what I was saying. Okay, I'm not saying that it doesn't do something to the message, but I wonder how many people who think they're good at reading body language are actually good at reading body language. How often do they go up to their subject and say, okay, this is what I believe you're feeling right now. Was I correct? Okay, how many times have you personally said to me, Ethan, Puck, I can't read your body language at all. Like I can't tell how you're feeling based on how you're looking or how you're. Now, when it comes to persuasive conversation, which is the kind that I like, what's true should be true regardless of delivery. And if I have to rely on emotionally manipulative methods to get the truth across to you, then it makes me question just how much you want the truth rather than you want to be entertained.
People, the average person wants to be entertained. They don't want to be bored. That is a large reason why people don't listen to religion or atheist stuff on YouTube, because they're bored, man. And
I actually
like
genuinely don't know that. And it would be an interesting question to ask the general audience. Okay. There's a lot of fantastic channels out there full of atheistic content, and there's a huge range. You have 10-minute videos by Prophet of Zod that are mostly response videos. You have Vice Rhino and Apologia, which have a lot of very high production value in them. You have channels like Pine Creek, which don't have a lot of production value, but it's mostly about the content. There's a lot out there. And no matter what kind of content you prefer, these people have tens of thousands of subs. So I agree with you. The same message is going to reach people in different ways, but the important part is the message, not the production value.
Yes, and it would be nice if everyone saw it that way, but unfortunately, they don't. They need production value. They need those quick results. But we do have our first caller.
Cool.
So, am I allowed to come back on camera now, or am I supposed to stay off?
No. Let's see it.
Okay. Here we go. All right. So we have.
Our view count goes up when people can actually see you, so it's good.
Randolph Richardson, you're on with Puck and Ethan. How are you, my friend?
Good. Just calling from Canada. I figured you need a call.
Yeah, we do.
Asking for callers. It's good to hear and actually see Puck on the air as well.
Thank you.
I'm glad he's here.
You know, Randolph, I see you around a lot, and I see a lot of things you say. I think this may be the first time we've actually really spoken, so it's an honor to finally get to talk to you.
Yes, it is. I likewise. I feel it's cool. You got an interesting call-in show with a pretty awesome kind of spelled out phone number, and it's a great idea.
Thanks. I'm trying.
What you got for us today?
Just thought I'd be a filler call.
Okay, well, maybe this is cool because maybe you can help me out with something that I didn't. You remember what I started out with this with definitional things? Have you ever heard of igtheism? IGTHEISM?
Oh, igtheism. Yeah, that's actually a position of some sort.
It is. Yeah.
I can quickly look it up here because it's a bit of a tricky one. It's define igtheism.
Ethan's looking at me like, what are you talking? No, this is a real thing. Igtheism exists.
It's apparently it's the idea that the position that you need to define your terms for talking about concepts like God, etc. And it's the idea of the question of the existence of God is meaningless because the word God has no coherent or an unambiguous definition. So it is kind of really has nothing to do with atheism as some people think it's an alternative to.
No, and the more I look into atheism, the more I think it identifies my position that I've never really heard a concrete enough definition of God that like what's the first thing in street epistemology that they ask? It's like, okay, well, how are you defining God? And with so many different definitions out there, it's a marvel that they use the same word for it.
Yep. So yeah, and I've noticed there's quite a few people saying, "Oh, I'm not a theist or an atheist. I'm an igtheist," as if there's more to that dichotomy than there could be. So, and I find that really strange. Believing in a deity, it doesn't matter if the deity is coherent or not. You can believe in it.
Yeah.
Or not.
Like
so the atheist is kind of more like splitting hairs on the matter.
Yeah. Well, see, I don't get a lot of opportunities to spout my official position on things, but my position is, you know what? I actually believe that it's very possible that there are objects and possibly even entities and intelligences outside of our realm of perception. We just can't detect them. Like, there's no way for us to tell if they are there or not. They're possibly there. And until you define it a little bit more, then it's just such a vagueness to call it a spirit or a soul or a god until we actually get some concrete definitions.
Yeah, and I think that's a reasonable approach, a reasonable way to look at things, because there seems to be a tendency by a lot of people to think that things need to be better defined. Okay, that can be the requirement for your conversation, but let's see what the objective necessity is for this. Is it really necessary to do that? Because, in order to believe in a concept, having even just a vague inkling of what that is all you need to believe in it. You don't actually have to have a full idea of what that is.
I would agree with that if there wasn't some baggage that doesn't get attached to it, right? Like if we were to just say, okay, if you go back in time far enough using a cause and effect scale, eventually this is going to get to an infinite regress, which, is an absurdity. There must be some end of this infinite regress. We're just going to call that end of infinite regress. We're going to call the answer to that. We're just going to call it God. Right. And that's fine if you want to put a label to it. But then you can't go to that and say, well, now that we agree that God exists, you can also agree that there's objective morality. See, that connection isn't made there, but we get suckered into it because we're using the same word. Does that make sense? And that's what I'm trying to avoid.
Yeah, but I know that's the attempt. I don't get suckered into it. The baggage issue. You're saying that because there is baggage that shouldn't or that can't be used? Is that what you're trying to say?
I'm saying that everybody is going to have different baggage attached to the word God, right? And I'm going to attach different things to it. Ethan's going to attach different things to it. Christians are going to attach different things. Deists are going to attach different things. And by using the same word, where it's a little too close to saying, okay, fine, whatever your idea of God is, I'm going to validate it, even the parts that I disagree with.
Yeah, and in a way you can say, look, God is a male deity.
Mm-hmm.
A deity is sex neutral, so you've got goddesses and gods, and there are people who even disagree with this. So you're right, how people define God varies. What I'm looking at being an atheist myself is I don't believe in any of them, so I'm an atheist. One can have a belief in it, but what that belief entails varies from person to person. I don't have a problem with that. Look at all the different religions and how they define them all differently. And then there's individuals who will believe that stuff without having a religion attached as well. Those are kind of rare, but they do exist.
This goes back to, because I get to plug myself on by prior agreement, I am allowed to plug my prior appearances on Ethan's show. And if you go all the way back to the very first What the Puck, there's a lovely conversation with a friend of Ethan's regarding the definitions of God and why people use the word God to indicate the different things that they do. I'm not beyond the use of alternate definitions, but as long as we got to pick out the individual components of it, right? Like a lot of theists will attach a lot of other things with God, objective morality or creation of the universe or a whole bunch of other things. And if we're talking about two separate things, let's use two separate words instead of just saying, okay, well, this is what you would call God. I guess we can just use that same word also. But you're right.
Yeah.
I'm possibly unnecessarily picky about this. That entire episode with Shanna is a perfect example of me being way too picky.
And then the thing I guess I'm struggling with here is when you're talking about the baggage, I'm looking at it being a deity with or without the baggage. The baggage to me is incidental. But am I understanding you correctly that you're saying there needs that the baggage is problematic and is interfering with the ability to define a deity to the point where we can't define ourselves as atheists?
No, I'm not. And this is actually one of the things that I have a problem with when it comes to a blanket statement like atheist, because if somebody comes up to me with a specific God concept, I can say whether or not I agree. But there's literally thousands of these out there. I can't pretend that I've ever heard them all. The best that I can say is, considering what I've come up with, this is the position that I have on here. And I don't even know what you would call me, because just before you came on, I actually said, no, this is while you're here. I'm going crazy. I actually said I do believe the possibility of entities and possibly intelligences that exist outside of our realm of perception. I don't know what the name for that is, but it seems like atheist is a nice little umbrella that a lot of people are gathering that share the same kind of thoughts that I would. If I'm not a by the book according to Hoyle atheist, I accept that.
So I'll ask you, since we're talking about aliens, do you believe that the Marklar are real?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? I didn't hear.
The Marklar?
Yeah.
Well, sorry, what's that?
I would say, because Ethan's not familiar with the Marklar,
Neither am I, so
you say that he doesn't believe in them.
Okay. I actually just had to look that up, and I see where you're going with this, and it's beautiful. But let's go ahead and keep Ethan on the hook for a little bit.
It's an alien species from the South Park TV show. Marklar live on planet Marklar, where they call all persons, places, and things Marklar. So the reason I ask that is to demonstrate the point. You're not familiar with them, so obviously you don't have a concept of what the Marklar are. Mm-hmm. So therefore, it's reasonable to assume that you don't have a belief in the Marklar.
Okay, I like where you're going with this, because epistemology is something that I try to grill into Ethan's head also. I agree with you. Until I looked it up, I had no idea what they are. But as soon as you find out something about them, you're leaning one way or the other. We're no longer like truly neutral, right? As soon as you get any information about something, you're going to lean one way or the other.
Okay, now this is getting interesting.
Okay,
because
I like this.
As soon as it sounds, I just want to clarify what you're saying here.
Sure.
If I then learn about this character, then I have no choice but to form an opinion on it one way or another.
I don't think it's that you have to have. Let's rephrase this for clarity on my end. I don't think that it's that you have to. It's that you do. Okay, like if I asked you a really completely nonsensical question, like do you believe it's morally wrong to xamflaka a flukalaka? You have no idea what that means until I say something about it. It's like, why would you want to do that? Flukalakas are so cute. Now, you know nothing about flukalaka other than they're cute, but you know something about them. You can decide whether or not you reject the adjective of cute to describe a flukalaka. You're not completely not knowledgeable about it. You're going to lean one way or the other.
Sorry about the dog, by the way.
I'm talking about knowledge. I'm talking about a psychological state rather than epistemology.
Okay.
I'm going to quote Aristotle. Aristotle is interesting. He said, "It is the mark of an enlightened mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it."
Yeah.
So the only thing I would change if I was Aristotle is I would not limit the scope to just enlightened minds, because I think unenlightened minds can do the same thing. But that's beside the point. The point here is what he says I think is true. Is look at courts. They will consider cases, and the case will end early because the litigants ended it for whatever reason, settlement or whatever, and then they no longer have to come up, collect more information to make a judgment on.
Sure.
So, different people, like if we don't have an interest in something, we just ignore it without making a judgment about
it. And I suppose sorry, please
if you're saying that I have to form a belief one way or another on it, I will not agree with that. But maybe I'm misunderstanding you.
I don't think it's so much that you have to make a belief, like you have to consciously make a decision. I think that it's that you can't help but make a decision one way or the other. Like you looking at flukalaka, for example, it's like, okay, somebody used the word cute to describe it. So somehow some flukalakas are something that some people consider cute. You don't have to know anything else about that. You might even disagree that flukalakas being cute, but you can no longer be truly neutral about something that's completely nonsensical. One way or the other, you've made a decision about it, even if that decision is that it's nonsensical. Now, obviously, there's not enough information to delve into and really flesh out your opinions on this, but something has been made up in your mind that is no longer, I have no belief about this. At least that's me. Like you bring up Marklar, right? Like before you brought that up, I had no idea what Marklar was. Now I do. I can't go back to a completely neutral opinion about them because now I actually know something about what Marklar are.
So why do you think that I can't be neutral on it anymore now that I have some awareness of it?
I think the only way to truly say that you have no opinion on something is if you have no information about it. Once you get information about it, you've had to process information. Like I don't see how you can go back to a truly neutral state of no information after you've got something, even if you've decided that the information you've gotten is incorrect or meaningless.
So are you saying that there's no way to ever be objective on like information?
I don't know that it has anything to do with objective. I just think it has something to do with once you know about something, you can't go back to not knowing about it. Once you know that some people think something about it, you can't go back to you one way or the other. You've decided our flukalaka is cute. You can't go back to not thinking about uncute or cute flukalakas. It's in your mind.
I don't have an opinion on whether flukalaka are cute or not.
No, and that's fine. But what I'm saying is you're no longer neutral on flukalaka. Somewhere in your mind, you've made a decision about, even if it's not a completely fleshed out decision, you're not completely neutral about it anymore.
How can you not be neutral about it if you haven't actually thought about it or decided?
Well, first of all, let's take a moment to realize that we've been spending the past 5 minutes talking about flukalaka, even though we've right. So we're somehow relating a conversation to this. We are not completely neutral to it. We're at least talking about it in the hypothetical sense. This is what I mean. We can't go back to nothing. And maybe it comes down to a difference in how we define neutral, right? Like, one very valid way of saying it, I think this is what you're saying, is that it's like, okay, you've heard the word cute attached to it, but you have not decided within yourself whether they are cute or not. Okay, that's fine. One could call that neutral. But I suppose in Puckville, where I try to slice things down to the smallest possible slice, you can't ever go back to having no opinion about flukalaka.
Well,
I'm weird.
Okay, so I'm very interested to see something that can actually prove that this is the case.
Okay.
Some part of my mind that's made up a decision on it. I'd like to know how to access that part of my mind so that I can figure out what that new bias is.
I actually, this is something that interests me, and I need to do a lot of work on this, right? Like, we know that perception is incredibly faulty, and we know that we visually or audibly or otherwise perceive things that we don't consciously perceive, right?
Well, I think
well, go ahead, please.
Suspected. I don't know if we know for certain, but I think it's strongly suspected. I would go that far with you.
Yeah, like I see what's around me in this room, and if I had to make a list of it, I probably couldn't list you all the items that are in my visual range, but I am visually perceiving it somehow, and I would go so far as to say that you could genuinely feel neutral about things, even though you have gotten some sort of sensory input about it, depending on how you want to call neutral. Neutral is another one of those fuzzy words for me. I think the only way to truly be neutral is to have zero information about it. Once you have information, you've decided what to do with that information.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I need something a little bit more compelling than this. Some way that I can verify that my mind is not working the way that I perceive it to be working. It's because I think I'm quite well aware of what I'm thinking about things and what my ideas and opinions are about things when I think about it to myself. And so I'm not saying I'm objective. I'm not saying I'm completely neutral, but from this creature that you've, I'm assuming it's a creature because you're saying it's cute, whether or not it actually is cute, I have actually not formed any opinion on it that I'm aware of.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm not convinced.
Okay.
It's an interesting idea, and it does come up sometimes in conversations.
Okay.
And
I've never gone ghost hunting. Just answer that really quick.
It's like, oh, you think you know my mind better than I do.
No. Okay. Now, I'm not pretending to think at all that you have formulated an opinion about it, whether you've decided that flukalaka are in fact cute. But now you've actually heard someone describing flukalaka as cute. Okay, so there is no longer any way in your mind to completely detach flukalaka from cuteness, even if it is not what you would consider cute. Even if you would look at it and say, yes, absolutely, that is the epitome of cute. One way or another, you've put those two words together in your mind. Is it possible to untangle those? Maybe I get it. You haven't decided if flukalaka are in fact cute, but can you completely untangle cuteness from flukalaka?
So the flukalaka, I have in my mind a memory of this word being introduced to me today in here, and then somebody associating it with cuteness. Right. Now that's somebody else's opinion. I haven't formed an opinion yet.
Right. Okay. No. I get that. You have not formulated an opinion about the cuteness value of flukalaka, but somewhere in there, you already think of flukalaka as something that someone has attributed cuteness value to. And I don't know that there's a way to erase that.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that I'm associating it that way. I know
No.
I'm aware that somebody else is associating that way.
Yeah, and you're associating with Flukalaka with the word cuteness, and not saying something like, "Why would you do that to Flukalaka? They're delicious." Now you're thinking about something else with Flukalaka.
No, I'm not associating it. Somebody else is associating. I'm aware of somebody else associating it.
Yeah, okay, but you're aware of that association. Can you ever be unaware of that association again? Yeah, I get it. You have not assigned a cuteness value to Flukalaka, but can you ever think of Flukalaka as something that has no cuteness value?
I suppose I could. At present, I currently do.
Okay.
As far as I know, I'm aware that somebody else doesn't, but because they've put a cuteness value on it, but I haven't.
See, that's really interesting, because like as soon as somebody describes something to me and then gives me some sort of descriptor to it, I cannot untangle those two in my mind. Okay, like if somebody talks to me about balut and says that balut are delicious, I can't think of balut as anything other than something to be tasted.
Oh, okay, so you're susceptible to what other people are thinking. And
I wouldn't go so far as to say that I'm like, if somebody says that balut is delicious, I'm not going to think that balut is delicious, but I am going to associate balut as something that people would associate with a taste, as opposed to, say, a color or a texture.
So I think what it is, you and I have different ways of thinking. You will draw these associations, and you will keep them as kind of a mandatory thing in your way of looking at these things, and I'm not doing that. We just have different approaches, I suppose.
Right. I don't know, and like I said, epistemology is something that I'm still working on, and I would go so far as to say that we all should be working on epistemology, on strengthening it, especially finding our blind spots. This is like one of my biggest blind spots is I don't put myself in the eyes of other people very easily. I don't put myself in the emotions of other people very easily. I know that's a huge blind spot. I still try to work on it. And now you're bringing up another one, which is I don't perceive the world epistemologically the same way that a lot of other people do too.
Yeah, I'm working on that too, man.
So I feel like, what, with my earlier post today, I think I just pissed off all my theist friends, or all like the theists I know, because now they're not calling in. Although I do have one asking how my faculties as an atheist comport to reality or some stuff like that. So
not a comport to reality call.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, I should say, unfortunately, he's not calling in. He's just blowing up my messages right now.
Yeah, I got to go for dinner soon here. So
all right. Well, thanks for calling in.
No, this was really insightful. I appreciate you calling in and talking to me about this.
At some point, I don't want to take over your whole show here.
We could have our whole we could have like an hour and a half show just on this topic alone. It would be fascinating to do this with you. But you're right. We should give other callers This was great. Thank you so much for calling, Randolph. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Randolph.
Thanks for hosting what you guys do. I really enjoyed the conversation, and I really enjoyed hearing Puck's perspective on this.
Puck is a smart dude, that's for sure. Thanks, Randolph.
Oh, yeah. Take care. Thanks.
Man, I want some theist callers. This hasn't happened to us before.
Yeah, I know. This is what happens when you put me on here. It's like all of a sudden they all have better things to do.
Scared all the theists away, Puck. Darn it.
Well, I mean, maybe it has something to do with the Islanders game that's on right now. I mean, I even tried wearing Islanders colors here just to lure people away from the hockey game. Apparently, it didn't work.
No, it didn't. Oh, well.
No, that's cool, because, I mean, there's still a lot to talk about here just between me and you, because you didn't really contribute a lot to that. And now I have to wonder, do you think you can ever be completely neutral after hearing about something? Like, what's your whole impression about that whole conversation?
Well, I think you both are significantly more knowledgeable and capable than I am. That's for sure. That being said, I don't. I guess I see where you're going with it. That there's no way to truly be neutral after you've been given some information, but I think you can be pretty damn close to it.
Okay. I think like you can act in a neutral way, but I don't think you can ever disregard or completely discard any conscious information. Like, I don't think there's any way to throw that out. It's going to influence you one way or the other. And like, what's the one thing we as skeptics always say? It's like, we have a bias. We might not be conscious of it. We might be actively fighting against it, but we all have a bias, right?
Right.
So one could say that you now have a bias regarding this. It's not a very big one. It's not a very, it's not a very impactful, and it's not going to matter through the rest of your life. But somewhere in there, you're going to have a bias about Flukalaka being cute. You can't get that out of your head now.
Okay, that's true.
And the next time somebody mentions Flukalaka, that's going to be in your head. It's like, wait, aren't those supposed to be cute?
And if you don't want us talking about Flukalaka, call the number at the bottom of the screen.
It's a thought experiment. That's how these work.
I know. I'm kidding. I know.
But yeah, descriptive association. That's one good way to put it. It's like, once you think about something described a certain way, it's hard to not think about it in those terms. That being said, have you ever heard of balut, Ethan?
No, I haven't.
Okay, let's freak Ethan out while we have a call.
No. Just
okay.
While we have a quick second, I just want to thank my patrons: Cindy Plaza, Trina Deluca, Kenneth, Leonard, Kathy Letto, Ian Davenport, Blazing Wizard Pope. Thanks. Yeah. Appreciate it.
Balut is a duck egg. What's that?
Is someone singing?
Yeah, that's my wife. She's doing choir rehearsal in the background. I'm trying to overtalk it, but okay. So anyway, balut is a duck egg that has been fertilized, and the fetus has been allowed to develop, and then it is boiled and cooked and eaten. So as you open it up, you actually see a duck fetus in the egg. It's delicious. What?
That's singing. Sorry.
Okay, this is the best you got. I have Flukalaka. It's spelled with a C, actually, Flukalaka. And I'm not actually making this up. Flukalaka is an actual word done by somebody who in the past was I was a huge fan of his work, but now apparently he's kind of gotten distasteful among the more civilized among us. Are you familiar with the name Scott Adams?
So for me, this is like a horrible situation because it's like, remember how I constantly tell you shiny object and I can't focus?
Uh-huh.
I am immensely trying so hard not to focus on the singing and focus on you right now. My brain keeps going to the singing.
Fantastic. So come up with a topic. Come up with a topic that you know that you're going to stick to. I'm good for whatever.
No. I'm thinking we don't have any theist callers. We can only vamp for so long.
Okay.
So if we're not going to get another theist caller, unfortunately, I think the best thing to do at this point would be to sadly not. Which sucks.
I know it sucks. And look. I apologize if I scared people off, right? Like, I come in here very strong opinion, like the harshest,
very
aesthetic.
Strong.
I have the harshest aesthetic ever, right? Like, does anybody really want to be looking at orange this much? No. Okay. But yeah, like with Brainbug, you got a lot of people here with who was it? The Kenneth the other week. Oh, he drew a lot of attention. And then there's me, and I can't even get freaking Tangelo. It's like, that's cool. Like, if this is the theist sphere's way of saying that they do not wish to engage with me, no. Fine. I'm a big boy. I can take the rejection. I've been doing it since senior prom. I'm good at it.
Park, no. Look, man, yesterday was a holiday. Granted, they didn't know you were going to be on until, last minute. I alienated some theists earlier today, so
you did.
Yourself, man.
You did. This is your opportunity to get some of them back. You want to start talking about what they were talking about? Let's do it.
I mean, if you really want to.
It's either that or we call it. What do you want to do?
All right. We'll talk about one of the things. I was a little glib in my response, but I was trying to make a point. I'm going to paraphrase here, but someone essentially said that if you you believe in God or you just want to find, I believe that's what it was. If you just want to find God, then you'll find him. And I said something to the effect, well, if that can't be true because I can't, you know what? I'm butchering this right now.
Yeah, you are. Let's just go ahead and roll. Let's go to the tape, shall we? Let's just look this up and see what exactly was said and then what you said about it. Okay. So the conversation roughly was about that. You posted that you said you couldn't find God wherever you looked, right?
Right.
Do you want to find a different way to phrase that, or do you want to go by that?
No, my exact phrasing was, why is it no matter how hard I look, I just can't seem to find convincing evidence for God?
Okay, and then this person, who will go unnamed for privacy reasons, okay, says, doesn't the desire to seek God lead to the possibility there is one? Let's engage with this idea.
So here's what I said, just so we're clear. I said, after she spoke to the desire, I said, so if I have the desire to find a 600-foot flying unicorn, does that lead to the possibility that there is one? Not remotely.
Yeah, and this is where I leaned. Okay, go ahead.
I can see how that can be a little standoffish, but I really was just trying to make a point that the desire for there to be something doesn't mean like that thing's actually going to be there, or that belief is true. So desire should not have anything to do with truth.
All right, so let's practice this. Let's practice a nice little tactic called steel manning. Do you know what steel manning is?
Yeah, it's when you have to like correctly defend and represent the other person's position as best as possible.
Yeah. Basically, it's the opposite of straw manning, where you create a weak impression of what their position is so that it's easy to take down. Steel man this. Steel man the idea that the desire for something leads to the possibility of its existence.
I can't, because I don't know how that could be true.
Okay, let's think about other desires that we have as humans, okay? I get thirsty. There is something that satisfies that. I get hungry. There is something that satisfies that. I am curious. There are things that satisfy that. Okay. And while I agree with you that if you want to get down to the specifics, okay, like I want a kiwi strawberry flavored La Croix right now. I don't necessarily know if kiwi strawberry La Croix exists. And if it does, I never would drink it. I prefer stronger carbonated beverages. But the idea that we have a craving, a deep desire for something, and that there is something that matches up to that deep desire, where would you go with that? Let's see if we can go the rest of the way.
I hate when you put me on the spot.
This entire show is people putting you on the spot. Why don't you like it when I do it?
Because you're, never mind. I genuinely don't.
I'm not saying that they are right. I'm saying, can you understand why they believe they are right?
Oh, okay. Yes. Then
Okay.
okay. With that reasoning, yes, I can understand. I just don't see how you're comparing the supernatural to something like, I'm hungry, and therefore, because I'm hungry and I need food. Like, how would that desire for food compare to a desire for God? Okay.
The way I would see it, and the way that I would steelman this, is the idea that there is something about that we feel we need, and then we seem to find something that seems to satisfy that, right? Like for some things, it's pretty simple because we know what the association is. We're thirsty, we drink water, okay. But for other things which are not so cleanly solved, we have a desire, for example, for social interaction, whether it's to reproduce or just to be social. Everybody has this differently, but we have a desire to socialize. Well, fortunately, we have people out there, and we have different ways of interacting with these people, right? Now, what is the actual desire, though? Is it, I just really want to talk to somebody right now? Is it, I really want to be in physical proximity with a person, like I want to be physically close to a person? Is it, I want an emotional bond with a person? I don't know. Okay. So the idea that we are craving something and then we are looking for a God figure to fulfill that, my first question is, well, what exactly is trying to be fulfilled here? And this comes into like many, many different definitions that people give to God. Some people think of God as some sort of guidance. Some people think of God as some sort of protection, right? And these are different concepts where we would think of God. And without knowing what a person is saying, well, you have a craving for God. Well, what exactly are you looking for God to do? And then that's how I would break it down. Yeah, is that like rule 39? I forget what rule that is. Are you familiar with this rule? Whatever there is, there's porn of it.
Oh, yes, I've heard that.
Yeah, that's what brain bug is. Sorry, there's porn that is of things that don't exist in the real world.
That's true.
Yeah. I forget what rule number that is. Brain bug, educate me if I'm mistaken.
All right. Well, on that note, we have no callers, and that stinks. Hopefully, next week we'll get back to getting some callers, because we'll be also including aliens and UFOs. I don't know what happened this week.
And as a special bonus for your viewers, I will not be here next week. So,
Mark, everybody loves you. I hope you know that, including myself. Even if you drive me nuts, I do love you. All right, everyone. Sorry about the show. Hopefully next week we'll be back to normal. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Check out Puck's channel. The link is in the description. And as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a good evening.